Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Amy if you're new here, and today I'm going to show you how I water my houseplants indoors. Now, I know this sounds like a very simple, easy topic, but when I was thinking back to things that I really struggled with at the beginning of this houseplant journey myself was watering. It took me a long time to figure out how much water, when to water, what plants like water, what plants don't, all of that kind of stuff. So I thought that I'd go through a very basic explanation of how I water my indoor plants. So I hope that you enjoy. So first things first, how do you figure out that your plant actually needs water? Now there are many different ways to tell this. One of the easiest things to note is that on certain plants, the leaves will kind of shrivel up and tell you that they need water. An example of a plant that really is vocal about when it needs water is a peace lily. So peace lilies will tend to completely droop their leaves and look really sad, really dehydrated when they need water. Other plants such as Hoyas tend to kind of shrivel up their leaves and look kind of wrinkly when they need water. Another way to tell is by weight. Once you get to know your plants and you know the weight of their pots and how they will feel lighter when they're drier, obviously. So that's one way to tell as well. Sometimes with certain plants that I know very well, I can just lift up the pot and go like, oh yeah, it's really light, so it needs some water. Other plants are not so obvious. So in those kinds of situations, we'll need one of two things. The first of which is a moisture meter. You can pick these up online, you can pick them up in most garden centres, they're fairly cheap. I can't remember how much this was, maybe it was €5. I got it a long time ago and it still works great. So this is basically, yeah, a moisture meter. So you stick this into your soil and it will tell you on this how dry or wet it is. So a lot of the times I will wait till either it's 1 or 2 dry for most plants before I water again. And the second method I use is my finger. So I will just use my fingers, use my sense of touch and stick my finger in the soil and feel how moist it is. Sometimes with plants with deeper pots, I prefer to do this because I find that it can be more reliable. When you're starting out, I would advise you to use both methods. Don't solely rely on this. It is much more helpful to figure out what dry soil feels like and what moist soil feels like and what kind of levels in between that there are. So I'm going to bring you around one of my tables with plants and show you how I go about watering my plants. Usually I'll do this in the evenings when I'm finished work, and I'll just go around and I'll use my finger or my moisture meter and go around and check everyone and see who needs water. So then I just go around and I check everyone who needs water. This is my Hoya Polynora, and just to show you how the moisture meter works, find a spot in the soil, stick it in, and it's dry. This is quite thirsty, this plant. So I'll do that maybe first, then I'll put that down and then I'll stick my finger in. You see, it's not actually as dry as I would normally leave it before I water, so I'm going to leave this another day. Next is this Epipremnum aureum or golden pothos. Stick this in the soil, also dry. Many of them are dry because I haven't watered in a few days. This one I will leave a bit longer because I know that this plant can handle a bit of dryness. What else? ZZ, I almost never water. Okay, here's a good example. This Venus flytrap. This is a plant that likes a lot of moisture and I keep it evenly moist a lot of the time. So this one, as you can see, is nearly fully wet, but that's the way it likes it. This plant I have only gotten quite recently, but I am bottom watering only because last time I think top watering didn't suit her and she died. So what I usually do is I put some water in this little tray and just let her soak it up. This is my Ceropegia woodii debili, I think. So I'll stick my finger in there. Doesn't need water. It's still quite moist from the last time I watered, so I'm going to leave that alone. This one is my Monstera Standeliana variegata. Also doesn't need a huge amount of water and it's still quite moist, so I'm going to leave that alone. And I basically just go through all of my plants like that. I'll go through and check everyone, see how they're doing. Some smaller plants, Peperomia obtusifolia variegata. I'll check this. That one's quite dry. Maybe I could water that today. Yeah, sometimes I'll feel the leaves. Are they firm? Are they kind of soft? I'll test a couple of things like that before I water one of my plants. Just to show you an example of another plant, this is a Scindapsus pictus exotica, and this plant doesn't like a lot of water, but it will tell me when it needs water. And the way it tells me is, you can see it on starting to happen here. The leaf kind of curls in. All of the leaves will kind of curl in like this. I'll leave it a bit longer until a couple of more leaves curl in, and then I will water it. Once I've figured out that a plant needs water, I take it over here and I place it on this tray. This is kind of the mechanism I have for inside. I know a lot of people do it differently. This is what works best for me. I kind of have an old oven tray that we don't use anymore. This kind of wire rack thing. This is what works for me. Try it however you want. So I water my plants with rainwater. I have a big rainwater collector outside. I live in Ireland. It rains quite a lot. And I will basically take a big watering can, fill it up with the rainwater. Usually it's quite cold, so I will let it kind of acclimate to the temperature inside before I water my plants with it. Then I will use this and pour it into a smaller watering can that's much more easy to use indoors, and then I will water my plants. So let's water this girl. I'll kind of make sure I get each side of the pot. So I'll make sure that the water gets to each area of the pot so there's no roots that don't get any water. And you can hear it start to flow down. So I'll do this a little bit more. Let it make its way down the soil. Make sure all the surface is moist. And then I will let it drain. So I'll let that drain now until it stops before I put it back in its place. Just to show you another plant, this is my Monstera Peru. She's been through some better days. Actually just repotted her maybe 2 days ago, and I haven't watered it in yet, so I'm going to give her some water now. Normally I would wait a little bit. These leaves also curl in when they need water, but for now I want to water in the soil that I've just put in. I'll take my little mini watering can and I'll do the same thing. Now this might be good because with these clear pots you can really see the water going through like that. Make sure all of it is wet and just don't run out of rainwater while you're filming a video. That's the key. So yeah, that's going to be enough for now, I'd say. So that is how I water my indoor houseplants. Yeah, it seems like a very simple process, but really a lot of learning how to water your houseplants is in your own intuition. Learn every time you touch your soil, learn every time your plant droops, learn every time you get root rot and your plant dies, which happens to all of us. You know, everything about this is a learning curve and about finding a way that works for you and your houseplant environment. As I said earlier, whether your house is dry or it's super humid, that's going to affect how much and how often your plant needs water. So think about that. If you have any questions, let me know down below and I'll try to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Please do all of the things down below. Comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you're told whenever I upload a new video. At the moment, it's still on Sundays at 6 p.m. If other times suit you better, let me know down below. Follow me on Instagram and do all of the things because that really helps me out. I really appreciate you stopping by, and good luck watering your houseplants.